Today marks exactly 187 days since my son Michael promised to visit me. 187 days of empty calendars and counting. My name is Elena. I am 89 years old, and I raised 2 wonderful children, alone after my husband passed too soon. Today, I sit here, waiting, wondering if they remember I exist. If you have parents, please listen to the end. It might just make you hug them a little tighter tonight. You see, Michael, my youngest, always had such a bright smile. He was the one who promised to take me to the park, to help me with the garden, to simply sit and talk. 6 months ago, he said he'd be here. Definitely by next week, Mama. He said it with that same smile. I tidied the house, baked his favorite apple pie, even bought new teacups. Every Tuesday, the day he usually visited, I'd put on my best dress and wait by the window, not for hours, but for entire days. The silence in this house has become a living thing, a constant echo of his absence. It hums in my ears louder than any radio. I still keep his old report cards, tucked away in my drawer, proof of the brilliant boy he once was, the boy who looked at me like I was the whole world. Now, his promises feel like sharp little cuts, each one deeper than the last. He used to call me Mama Bear, fierce and protective. Now I feel like a forgotten teddy bear, collecting dust on a shelf. But to understand how I got here, I need to go back to the days when we were happy. It's not just these 187 days, you see. That's just the latest promise broken. It's been so much longer since my son Michael truly spoke to me, since his calls weren't just rushed excuses or quick hellos. In truth, it's been nearly 3 years since he last answered my calls without letting them ring out for days first. 1,095 days at least. That's how long it feels since he cared enough to pick up the phone and just listen to his mama. But I remember when he used to call me my queen, his little hand squeezing mine as we walked through the market, the smell of fresh-baked bread filling the air, the sound of his laughter echoing through our small home, our Christmas table, groaning under the weight of food, and surrounded by all of us, used to be the happiest place on earth. If you knew what I discover at the end of this story, if you understood the raw, painful truth behind his sudden coldness, maybe there would still be time for you not to make the same mistake my children did. I remember the day Michael came home with a perfect report card, his eyes shining. He was only 8, but he looked at me, Elena, his mother, like I was the source of all his triumphs. "Look, Mama," he'd shouted, waving the paper. "I did it for you." My heart would swell with pride so much it felt like it would burst. He was always so determined, so full of life. My daughter, Maria, a few years older, was more reserved, but her quiet strength was a comfort. I remember her sitting with me late into the night, helping me mend clothes to earn a little extra, her small fingers surprisingly nimble with a needle and thread. "Don't worry, Mama," she'd whisper. "We'll make it through." They were my whole world, those two. My late husband, God rest his soul, would have been so proud. I worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses and waiting tables, just to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table after he passed. I remember Michael wanting a bicycle so badly, but we couldn't afford it. I saved every spare coin, went without new clothes for myself for a year, just so I could see his face light up that Christmas morning. He threw his arms around me, tears in his eyes. "You're the best mama in the world," he'd cried. Those words, they still echo in my empty rooms today. Wait, I haven't told you the part that makes me cry every night yet. It's not just the memory of the bike or the report card. It's the constant, aching contrast. I remember Michael's graduation day. He was the first in our family to go to university, and I wore my best dress, even though it was faded and too tight. He hugged me on stage, right in front of everyone, and whispered, "I wouldn't be here without you, Mama." He went on to become a successful engineer, building bridges and structures, just like he used to build with his Lego blocks as a boy. I remember visiting his first apartment, small but full of dreams, and how he proudly showed me his blueprints. He used to call me every Sunday, without fail, telling me about his week, asking about mine. He would always end the call with, "Love you, Mama." Maria, my sweet Maria, she became a teacher. I remember her classroom, filled with colorful drawings and the laughter of children. She was so patient, so kind. She used to bring her students' drawings home for me to see, explaining each one with such joy. She always remembered my birthday, bringing me a small bouquet of wildflowers, saying, "Just like the ones we used to pick, Mama." The scent of those flowers still reminds me of her. They both had such bright futures, full of love, full of promise. And I, Elena, felt like the richest woman on earth. We weren't wealthy in money, no, but we were rich in family, in laughter, in shared dreams. I thought that bond, forged in sacrifice and love, was unbreakable. I believed we were a unit, a fortress against the world's harshness. I believed I had taught them well, given them all the love a mother could give, and that it would endure. When Michael decided to move across the country for a promotion, he was hesitant. "But what about you, Mama?" he asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "Who will look after you?" I waved him off, my heart aching but my voice firm. "Go, my son. This is your dream. I'll be fine. Maria is here and I'm a strong woman. You know that." I pushed him, practically, towards his success, sacrificing my daily visits for his future. He promised to call every day, to visit every few months, without fail. He swore it, his hand on my cheek, looking into my eyes. "I will never forget you, Mama. Never." Maria, she stayed closer for a time, visiting every week, bringing me groceries, fixing a leaky faucet. But then she married, and her life became about her own children, her own family. Her visits grew shorter, then less frequent. "So busy, Mama," she'd say, rushing through a quick hello. "I'll call you next week." Next week often became next month, then never. I kept a small jar on my kitchen counter, collecting change to visit Michael just once. I imagined surprising him, walking into his grand new life, seeing the successful man he had become. I'd save $1 here, 50 cents there, remembering how he'd beam when I'd surprise him with a treat as a child. I even found his favorite blue sweater, moth-eaten and faded, but still smelling faintly of him, and I mended it, thinking of the day I would hand it to him, a token of our shared past. I worked hard to keep this house, our house, pristine, a testament to the life we built. I polished the old wooden table where we had countless family dinners, baked countless cakes. I kept the garden thriving, just as Michael used to help me with, his little hands digging in the dirt, laughing when he found an earthworm. The roses bloomed still, vibrant and beautiful, a cruel mockery of the life that used to fill these walls. This home, once bursting with life and love, now echoes with only my own footsteps. Each object holds a memory, a story, a laugh, a tear. They are the only companions I have left, silent witnesses to a life that once was, a life that I dedicated to them. I still pay the old property taxes on this house that Michael technically owns now, the one he inherited from his father. He told me not to worry about it, that he'd handle it, but the bills still come to my door and I pay them, just like I paid for everything else. I'd never want to be a burden, never. But perhaps I already am. Perhaps I always have been. It didn't happen all at once, you see. It was subtle at first, like the fading scent of a forgotten perfume, or the way a favorite photograph yellows around the edges. A tiny shift, a whisper of neglect that grew louder, day by day, until it roared in my ears. I still paid Michael's property taxes, kept this house immaculate, nurturing the garden as if their return depended on it. But they had already begun to dismantle my world, brick by agonizing brick. They had started with my hope, my 87th birthday. I remember it clearly. It was 2 years ago now. I had spent the entire week baking a small cake for myself, just a tiny one, with 2 candles, hoping that Michael or Maria would drop by, even if just for a minute. I didn't want a party, just a call, a recognition. The phone, my old rotary phone that Michael always joked about, sat silent on the table. I picked it up half a dozen times, just to make sure it was working, though I knew it was. I had ironed my blue dress, the one Michael said made my eyes sparkle. I even put on a little lipstick. I waited until dusk, then until the moon hung high and cold in the sky. Not a single call, Not a single message. That night, I ate a slice of my own cake, alone, the sweetness tasting like ash in my mouth. It was the first time they truly forgot. Not just a busy day, not an oversight, but a complete erasure. I felt a cold dread settle in my chest, a premonition of what was to come. Was I just disappearing? Was my existence so insignificant now? It was Maria who called, weeks later, not to apologize for my birthday, but to talk about my future. She sounded so formal, so unlike my sweet Maria. "Mama," she said, her voice strained. "Michael and we've been talking. It's not safe for you to be alone in that big house anymore." Big house? It was our home, where they grew up. "I'm fine, my little girl." I tried to reassure her, but my voice wavered. "I can manage," she sighed, a deep, tired sound that echoed through the phone line. "But Mama, what if something happens? What if you fall? We're so far away. Michael is in Denver, and with my children, my job, we can't be there every day." My heart clenched. Every day? They weren't there every month. Then Michael called. "Mama," he started with that tone he used when he was trying to convince me of something I wouldn't like. "We've found a wonderful place. A community for seniors with nurses, activities, everything you need." My blood ran cold. A community. It sounded like a polite prison. "But my home, Michael," I pleaded. "This is where I belong. This is where your father and I built our lives." He was insistent. "It's for your own good, Mom. We worry about you constantly. This way, you'll have company. You won't be lonely." He said lonely, as if it was a condition he was curing, not one he had created. I remember the exact words he used. "It's a necessary step, Mama, for everyone's peace of mind. Everyone's peace of mind, not mine." I could almost hear the relief in his voice. The weight of a perceived burden lifted. He didn't ask. He told. It was a decision already made, signed and sealed without my consent, my desires, my very life considered. I wanted to scream, to cry, to tell him about the jar of money I'd saved to visit him, about the sweater I mended, about the property taxes I was still quietly paying on his house. But the words caught in my throat. I just whispered, "Please, Michael, no." But my plea fell on deaf ears, swallowed by the distance and his resolve. The day they moved me, it's a blur of polite strangers and cold cardboard boxes. My home, filled with the warmth of a lifetime, suddenly felt like a museum being dismantled. I clutched my husband's old fishing hat, the one he wore on our first date, its brim soft and worn. "This," I said to Maria, my voice barely a whisper, "this has to come with me." She nodded, distracted, her eyes scanning the room, as if trying to find anything else to discard. They packed my clothes, my few books, but they left so much behind. My beautiful old Singer sewing machine, the one I used to mend all their clothes, to make Maria's prom dress, Michael's Halloween costumes. It sat there, silent and abandoned. "It's too heavy, Mama," Michael said without even looking at it. No room for a lifetime of memories, for my craft, for a piece of my soul, and the photo albums, not the small ones, but the big, leather-bound albums from their childhood, brimming with their first steps, their school plays, our family vacations. "We'll scan them later, Mama," Maria promised. "For digital copies. They take up too much space. Too much space. My children, my memories, reduced to clutter." I wanted to fight, to scream, but my voice felt trapped, my body frail. As they drove me away, I looked back at the house, my house, with the roses blooming by the porch, and felt a piece of me tear away. Left behind with the sewing machine and the unscanned albums, I was leaving my life, my love, my very self. The community was new, clean, and utterly devoid of the soul my home possessed. My room, small and impersonal, felt like a temporary waiting station. I tried to make it my own, placing my husband's hat on the bedside table, but it just felt wrong. I missed the smell of my own kitchen, the creak of the floorboards, the way the morning light hit the old oak tree outside my window. Weeks passed. The planned activities felt hollow, the forced cheerfulness of the staff a thin veneer over a profound loneliness. Maria visited once briefly with her children, who clung to her skirts, casting shy, uncertain glances at their grandmother. A stranger in a strange place. Michael came a month after I moved in. He sat on the edge of my bed, his face etched with something I couldn't quite decipher. Was it guilt? Relief? He held my hand for a moment, his touch feeling distant, almost clinical. "It's good here, isn't it, Mama?" he said, avoiding my gaze. I just nodded, too tired to argue, too broken to pretend. "We'll come back soon," he promised, standing up already halfway out the door. "Next month, definitely. Maybe we'll take you out for lunch." He even offered to bring my old sewing machine then, if I still wanted it. "Just remind me," he said with a fleeting, empty smile. That was 5 months ago. 5 months since he uttered that promise, his voice echoing in the sterile hallway. A promise I knew even then was already broken. Another one added to the stack of absences, of empty words, of a love that had simply evaporated. But what I found out later, that's what truly broke my heart into pieces. You know what's worse than death? Being alive and forgotten. That's the cruel truth I live with now, every single day. My world here is a quiet, predictable loop. The soft hum of the fluorescent lights wakes me at precisely 6:30 each morning, not the cheerful chirping of the sparrows outside my old window. I dress slowly, my old bones protesting with every movement, into clothes laid out by a kind aide who knows my routine better than my own children. Breakfast is served in a communal dining room where the clinking of cutlery on ceramic feels impossibly loud against the backdrop of hushed conversations and the general quiet. The food, bland and unvarying, tastes mostly of loneliness. I push it around my plate, trying to remember the joy of a homemade meal, the smell of fresh herbs from my garden. But those memories are like faded photographs, beautiful but distant. After breakfast, I return to my small room, a space that feels more like a waiting room than a home. I sit by the window, the one that looks out onto a patch of manicured lawn and a parking lot, instead of my vibrant rose garden. I watch the cars come and go, each one a tiny flicker of false hope, each one never stopping for me. The silence in here is a heavy blanket, muffling every thought, every memory, until only the profound ache of emptiness remains. I try to read, but the words blur. I try to knit, but my hands tremble too much. Mostly I just sit. I trace the patterns on the dusty windowsill, a meaningless ritual, a way to mark the slow, agonizing passage of time. The air is always conditioned to a precise, impersonal temperature, neither warm enough to be comforting nor cold enough to feel invigorating. It's just neutral, just like my days. Waiting, always waiting for a knock, a call, a sign that I am not entirely erased. Sometimes a friendly aide will stop by, offering a fleeting moment of human connection. "How are we today, Elena?" they'll ask, their voices kind but hurried. "We're fine," I'll always reply, a polite lie. I don't want to bother them with the truth of my sorrow. They have so many others to care for. So I smile, a brittle practice thing, and thank them for their trouble. Then the door clicks shut, and the silence rushes back in, bringing with it the ghosts of laughter and whispered secrets from a lifetime ago. Lunch, another bland meal, an afternoon nap that offers no real rest, only more time for my mind to wander back to the days when this house, our house, was full of life, full of Michael's boundless energy, Maria's gentle presence, the coldness of this room, the sterile scent that never quite leaves. It's a constant reminder of how far I've drifted from the life I built, brick by agonizing brick for them. It was one of those afternoons, just a few weeks ago, when the silence was particularly suffocating. I had decided to try and find the small sunroom, a place the aide said had better light for reading. As I shuffled down the hall, clutching my husband's old fishing hat, a small piece of comfort, I heard a voice. A familiar voice, Michael's. My heart leaped, a foolish, desperate flutter. I hadn't heard from him since he promised to visit 5 months ago, after my move. I rounded the corner just as he was speaking into his phone, his back to me, in the small visitor's lounge. He was laughing, a hearty, full-throated laugh that I hadn't heard directed at me in years. He was dressed in a crisp suit, looking important and successful, just as I always knew he would be. "Yes, just leaving Mama's place now," he said into the phone, his voice casual, almost breezy. "Popped in for a quick visit, you know. Make sure she's comfortable. She's doing great, really thriving in this place." My breath hitched. He paused, listening, then chuckled. "Oh no, I visit all the time. Can't forget about Mama, right? Family's important. Just had a lovely chat. Brought her some flowers. She loves the company." My knees almost buckled. Flowers? A lovely chat? He hadn't brought flowers in years. He hadn't had a lovely chat with me since before I was moved here. He hadn't visited at all. It was a lie. A carefully constructed performance for whoever was on the other end of that line. Someone he clearly wanted to impress. My Michael, the honest boy who couldn't tell a fib without his cheeks turning red, was now fabricating an entire reality, painting himself as the devoted son he no longer was. I gripped my husband's hat so tightly, the worn fabric digging into my palm, trying to steady myself. The world seemed to tilt. He turned then, finished with his call, his eyes scanning the hallway. His gaze passed right over me, standing just a few feet away, a ghost in my own son's eyes. He didn't see me. He didn't even recognize the frail old woman who was his mother, standing there, shattered by his words. He was already moving towards the exit, probably off to a meeting, a dinner, a life where I no longer existed, except as a convenient fiction. He didn't even glance back. That small, innocent lie, designed to make him look good to a stranger, felt like a physical blow. It was worse than simply being forgotten. It was being erased, replaced by a convenient, comforting falsehood for his own benefit. The memory of his 8-year-old self, beaming with his perfect report card. "I did it for you, Mama." Felt like a cruel joke now. He was doing it for himself, always. If you think what you've heard so far is sad, prepare yourself, because what I heard next as he was walking away was a small, hushed conversation between two of the aides cleaning nearby. "Poor Elena," one whispered to the other. "Her son Michael just told Mrs. Henderson he visits her every week. He hasn't been here in 5 months, has he?" The other aide shook her head, a sympathetic sigh escaping her lips. "Not a peep. He only called once after she moved in. Some people, eh? It's a pity. She's such a sweet old thing." The confirmation, from strangers who knew the truth, was a final crushing blow. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an oversight. It was deliberate. He knew he wasn't visiting, and he was actively lying about it to others, creating a false narrative of care and devotion while I withered away in this sterile room. He wasn't just abandoning me. He was performing an abandonment, staging his devotion for an audience. It felt like I was less than human, less than real, just a prop in his perfect, successful life. It wasn't just my feelings he ignored. It was my very existence. I stumbled back to my room, the sunroom forgotten, the fishing hat clutched to my chest. The silence in my room, once heavy, now felt like a scream. My son, my Michael, the boy I sacrificed everything for, the man who promised he'd never forget me, was now actively fabricating my reality, painting over my loneliness with his convenient lies. He saw me not as a mother to be loved, but a burden to be managed, and an image to be maintained. And it was at that moment that I started to wonder, where did I go wrong? I spent months asking myself, where did I go wrong? The question gnawed at me, a relentless burning ember in my chest. Every morning as I looked at my reflection in the small, sterile mirror, I saw not just an old woman, but a mother, searching for answers in the lines etched around her eyes, in the tremble of her hands. Was I too strict? Did I love one more than the other? Did I push Michael too hard towards his dreams, forgetting my own needs? The realization that my son was actively fabricating a life of devotion for others, while leaving me to wither in this place, was a wound that refused to heal. It wasn't just the pain of abandonment anymore. It was the pain of deception, a betrayal that felt colder than any winter wind. I had given them my youth, my strength, my very being. And for what? For a son who would turn my life into a convenient lie? Then, one Tuesday, just a few weeks after that devastating encounter in the hallway, everything shifted. It wasn't a phone call, not a visit, but something far more insidious. An aide, a kind young woman named Sarah, knocked softly on my door. She held a crisp, official-looking envelope, addressed not to me, but to Mr. Michael Davies, my son. It had been mistakenly routed here, she explained, because the sender still had my old home address listed as the official contact. My heart lurched. My home, the one I had raised them in, the one I had poured my life into, the one Michael supposedly owned, but I still quietly paid the property taxes for. Sarah apologized profusely for the mix-up, but I waved her off, my hand trembling as I took the letter. "It's quite all right, dear," I managed, my voice thin. "I'll see that Michael gets it." She nodded, a sympathetic glance in her eyes, and left. The moment the door clicked shut, the carefully constructed facade of my composure shattered. I sat there, the envelope heavy in my lap, its smooth, thick paper feeling impossibly cold. It was from a law firm in Denver, where Michael lived. My mind raced, trying to find an innocent explanation. Maybe it was about his business, a new project? But why would it come to my old address? Why would it involve the house? A terrible premonition, a cold, creeping dread, began to coil in my gut. My fingers, gnarled with age, fumbled with the seal. I knew it was wrong to open my son's mail, but a desperate, primal urge, a mother's instinct to protect what was left of her legacy, overcame me. I tore open the flap, my breath catching in my throat. The words blurred at first, formal and legalistic, but as my eyes adjusted, the meaning coalesced into a devastating clarity. It was an offer of purchase for the very house I had lived in for 60 years, the home where Michael and Maria had taken their first steps, where we had celebrated countless Christmases, where my late husband had died peacefully in his sleep. The letter detailed terms, dates, closing costs. It was dated a month ago. Michael was selling the house. My home. The home I had been forced to leave, under the pretense of my safety. The one I still paid taxes on to avoid being a burden. And he was doing it without a single word to me. Not a warning, not a discussion, not even a fabricated conversation about it. He was simply liquidating my past, my sanctuary, for his own profit. This wasn't what I wanted for them. This wasn't the Michael I had dreamed of, the son who had pledged his eternal love. This wasn't the Maria who had promised to stand by me. My vision of their lives, once so full of light and promise, twisted into a grotesque caricature of self-interest and calculated abandonment. I felt no anger, no urge for revenge, only an overwhelming, crushing wave of profound disappointment. My heart ached, not for the house itself, but for the man Michael had become. A man so blinded by ambition, so detached from the sacrifices that had built his very foundation, that he could sell his mother's home, out from under her, while weaving lies about his devotion. He wasn't just forgetting me, he was erasing me, systematically dismantling every physical trace of my life, as if I had never existed, as if my 60 years in that home were meaningless. The house, once a symbol of our shared life, now became a monument to his betrayal. What I'm about to reveal explains everything, and it will break your heart. I stared at the figures, the cold, hard numbers detailing the sale, and remembered the bicycle I saved for, the university tuition I worked 2 jobs to pay. Every sacrifice, every ounce of love, every moment of my life poured into building a future for them felt like it was being mocked by this single piece of paper. The very ground my memories stood upon was being sold off, traded for convenience, for profit. It wasn't about the money for me, never was. It was about the value he placed on our shared history, on my history. And that value, it seemed, was zero. He was selling his childhood, Maria's childhood, our husband's legacy, all to avoid the imagined burden of my old age, while still benefiting from my quiet payment of his taxes. He wasn't just abandoning me. He was profiting from my vulnerability, from my silent efforts to still contribute, still be a mother. I gripped the letter, my knuckles white, the legal jargon a harsh counterpoint to the soft whispers of forgotten lullabies in my mind. The house had always been my rock, my anchor in a sea of change. It was where I was Elena, mama, a wife, a mother, a woman who had weathered storms and found joy in simple things. Now, even that was being taken, not by time or circumstance, but by the very hands I had once held, guided, and loved unconditionally. It was a final devastating blow, a testament to how utterly insignificant I had become in their lives. The pain wasn't sharp, but a dull, deep ache that settled into my bones, telling me, definitively, that the children I had raised no longer existed. Only strangers wearing their faces remained, and these strangers saw only opportunity, not family. My mind, though weary, suddenly cleared with a terrible, resolute purpose. I couldn't just let this happen, not just for the house, but for the principle of it, for the dignity he was stripping away. This letter, this cold, transactional proof of his betrayal, couldn't just disappear into the sterile anonymity of this community. It was evidence. It was the answer to, what have they become? I folded the letter meticulously, my trembling hands making it harder than it should have been, and tucked it deep inside my Bible, between the pages of the Proverbs, where wisdom and truth were supposed to reside. It was a silent act, a private defiance, a secret weapon against the lies. And then I remembered Maria's words, her promise to scan later the old family photo albums, the very albums that held every precious memory, every moment of their childhood, every picture of our lives in that house. They were still at my old home, gathering dust, ignored. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that they would never be scanned. They would be tossed, discarded just like me. But they were the truth. They were the undeniable visual proof of the love and sacrifice he was now erasing. With this truth in my hands, there's only one thing left for me to say before the end. And now, the message that could change the life of whoever is watching. If you're watching this, and you have elderly parents, grandparents, or even just an old neighbor who smiles when you pass, please listen to an old woman's plea. Don't let my story become your future. One day, you will be in my place. Your body will ache, your eyesight will blur, and your memories will be the loudest voices in a silent room. You'll stare at nothing, waiting for a visit that never comes, for a phone to ring with a voice that remembers your name. You'll understand the terrible, aching hollowness when a promise made with love turns into a painful echo. I know life is busy. I know you have jobs, children, your own families to raise. I understand, because I did it too. I ran myself ragged to give my Michael, my Maria, a better life than I had. But the truth is, the world doesn't stop turning just because our bones get brittle. And those tiny gestures, the ones you think are insignificant, they are everything to us. A 5-minute phone call, just to hear your voice, to know you're well. A photo of my grandchild, even just a blurry picture on a screen, would be like winning the lottery to me. An unexpected "I love you, Mama" in a text message, or a card that arrives in the mail, scrawled with your own handwriting. It would fuel me for weeks. It's not about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about remembering. It's about the presence, the connection, the acknowledgement that we still exist, that we still matter. I often think about the day I held Michael for the first time, his tiny hand gripping my finger. I promised him the world. I promised him my unwavering love, my constant presence, and I kept that promise until my presence became an inconvenience, until my love became a burden. What truly matters at the end of this long, winding road isn't the size of your bank account or the fancy cars or the big houses. It's the memories you carry, the love you've given and received. It's the knowing that when your time comes, you won't be alone, forgotten in a sterile room, your legacy reduced to a dusty album or a sold-off home. It's knowing that you left a warmth behind, a spark of connection that will live on. I still carry the scent of my husband's shirt, the feel of Maria's hair against my cheek, Michael's laughter. Those are my treasures now, because the living ones have abandoned me. And that brings me to the hardest part, the part I've been dreading to say out loud. All this waiting, all this heartache, it has taken its toll. The doctors here, kind as they are, They've been gently hinting. My heart, they say, is tired. Very tired. The stress, the constant worry, the profound disappointment of what my children have become. It's all catching up. They don't say it in so many words, but I can read between the lines. I don't have much time left. Not months, not even weeks, perhaps. Maybe days. The discovery of Michael selling our home, the place where all those cherished photo albums sit forgotten, was a final blow that stole whatever fight I had left. It's not just the house. It's the dismantling of every memory, every sacrifice, every proof of the mother I was. Don't leave it for later. Please. Later might be too late. Later, your parents might not be here. Later, the phone might just ring into an empty room. Hug your parents. Tell them you love them. Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Show them they matter, even in their fading years. Especially in their fading years. Because the regret, my dears, is a heavier burden than any love could ever be. I still have hope of seeing my son Michael and my daughter Maria just one last time, to look into their eyes, not with anger, but with a mother's fading love. Is that too much to ask before I close my eyes forever? So, you've heard my story, Elena's story. It is just one voice, I know, but there are millions like mine, echoing in silent rooms, unheard, unremembered. If what I've told you, if the pain in my heart has touched yours even a little, please, I beg you, don't put off that call, that visit, until tomorrow, not for a moment. Time, my dears, is a relentless river that only flows forward. It doesn't go back. And regret is the only feeling that has no cure. It will eat away at you, just as loneliness has eaten away at me. If you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who might be forgetting the precious gift of their parents' time, share this video, share my plea. And if you are blessed enough to still have your mother or father, your grandparents, near you, hug them for me. Hug them while you still can. Feel their warmth. Listen to their stories. Tell them you love them. Let them know they matter, that their existence is cherished, not tolerated. These stories, like mine, they are more than just tales of sorrow. They are urgent warnings, whispers from the forgotten, reminding us all of what truly matters in this fleeting journey. So please, listen to them, understand them, let them guide you. If you want to hear more stories that remind us of what truly matters, stories from voices like mine, then please subscribe to the Portraits of Life Soul Pain channel. Perhaps through sharing our truths, a tiny spark of hope can still be lit, a connection rediscovered, before it's too late for another Elena, another forgotten soul.